Good morning, friends. It's been a while since I've done one of these, but summer is over. Thus, the garden is tucked away, ready for next spring, and I have sprung back into the knitting. That includes knitting podcasts, the whole nine yards. So I decided to pick one up of these again. I'm Mary. I figure most of y'all know since most of you are just friends of mine. But we'll start in case somebody runs across this accidentally. I'm Mary. I live in Minneapolis. I'm 54. As of yesterday. Oh yeah. And I love knitting. I love marble, and I love gardening. But gardening is a summertime occupation, and I don't knit in the summer. Like I get when I'm doing a thing, I am 150% into the thing, and I don't do other things. I do the thing, and then when I'm done with that thing, I move on to another thing. And so gardening is done. No knitting happened during the summer. I'm now into wintertime knitting. But I finished some things in the spring and I started some things in the spring, and we'll talk about all of those. Um, we'll start with Marvel first this time. It's Monday. On Thursday is opening night of Black Panther 2, and I hope y'all all have your tickets. I've got 40. I'm taking 40 friends. We're going to see Marvel. It's going to be awesome. And that's all I can say about that right now because I'm avoiding anything that looks like a spoiler. It's not going to spoil the movie for me, but I'm at the point now where I'm like, meh, I'm going to go see it anyway. I don't need to seek out what's going to happen. Sorry, my eye itching. It's early in the morning. Time change was Saturday night, so I've got more sunshine in the morning, so I'm not mad at it. I know a lot of people like the sunshine in the afternoon and the evening, but especially working from home. Well, no, I guess that's not true. It would be easier to work from home with it being darker in the morning. I probably wouldn't mind as much, but especially when I had to leave the house in the morning, whoo boy, did I need that sun. So I preferred it in the morning. Now I really don't care. I just wish they would stop. Just stop. Just stop. Okay, we've been through 50,000 things and we haven't talked about knitting yet. So I'm going to talk about yarn first because I did an experiment. Last year at this time, I started buying Bumblebee Acres Farms does is it Bumblebee Acre Farms? Yes, no fiber in the title. Does a monthly subscription box where you can order a Stephen King, Sean Bean and Stephen King just went in my head. A Stephen King colorway. And I said, well, let me try that. And I got the first one, and the first one was this one. And it's called Come Play With Us, Danny, and it's based on the Outlook Hotel. And I loved it because to me, it's the snow outside the Outlook, the light blue is the ice, and then, of course, the red is the blood spatter. And I have already knitted me a pair of socks out of that one. This is the Crunkle sock pattern. I brought my computer this time so I can look at my projects. Do. Let's use the mouse, shall we? That'll make it easier. Do. Really? No. Surely not. I'm scrolling and I can't find. There they are. It's the Crunkled Socks by K.F. Jones of the Bakery Bears. And I love them. And I love this base. This is their Coquette sock base, which is Coriadel based. Let's see what it says. It is. I keep all my tags because otherwise 75% American Coriadel, 25% nylon. So it is a very woolly filling wool. Like it feels and it smells pretty woolly too when it's wet. And I love that. So I knit me a pair of socks out of that. That was the first colorway. And so I said, let me do the skin. And then the second colorway was Christine. And it's based on the colors of the cover of the book. And so the book is this color, and then this is Christine's color. And so I obviously have knit a pair of socks out of this as well. Again, all of these are the Coquette sock base because I loved it that much. And then the next colorway was back to the Outlook Hotel. And it's all the colors. I think this one is literally called the Outlook. Oh, wait. Does this sock have a pattern? Let's see. I forgot. Some of these I just made up on my own, so... Yeah, this one I just made up. It is not based on a pattern. It is just, I said... Like, I used the crunkled part of her pattern, but then I used a different heel. I did use her toe. KF Jones has patterns that have an umbrella toe instead of a double decrease on both sides. That makes that angled pointed toe. I hate those angled pointed toes. I hate them. They do not fit my foot. They make me angry. That's for a long reason why I didn't knit socks. And so when I decided I was going to learn to knit socks and I was going to make one for my foot, KF Jones has one that she calls an umbrella toe, which is a round decrease. It does not decrease in that pattern. And this fits my foot and I like them. So I used her toe. I used a different heel. I used the crunkled pattern. So there was not an actual pattern, but I made one up. And then for the Outlook, I made a Valentine Day sock because it is all the colors of that carpet. If you go back and watch the movie The Shining and look at the carpet in the hotel, this is every color in that carpet. I mean, it is spot on. And the name of this sock pattern is V for Valentine Socks by Ellie Jones. And it's got that little detail, which I modified. The detail in the pattern itself is a half heart underneath a full heart. And I just made it 2 hearts because I wanted 2 hearts. So those are the 3 that I've already made socks out of. And then they started arriving in spring when I was already getting into gardening, and so I didn't need any more socks. But I'm going to show you the colorways because, damn, I've got a whole year's worth now. A whole year's worth. Look at these. This one is the Losers Club, so based on the kids in It. This is called Prom Night, and it's based on Carrie. Okay, I know a lot of people might not love this because it's really, really bright, but I love it because it's really, really bright. The thing about these is even the colors that I am not in my wheelhouse, I just freaking love them because they're so well done. This one is The Green Mile, based off of the short story, The Green Mile. Love it. I mean, I love greens. I don't wear a lot of green. I don't knit with a lot of green, but I love greens, and these are all the greens I love. Look at those colors. And then this one is called Misery. Again, the blood. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, I didn't plan this out great. This one is Stu Redman from The Stand. Now, these are completely not my colors. They are way too muted for my taste. But that's so gorgeous. Look at the play of color in there. They all go together so well. And then this one's funny. This one arrived. This one's recent. This is the September 22 colorway. And I got it, and I looked at it, and I went, is this fairy tale? Because it's the exact colors of the book cover. And I was listening to it, because I listen to all my books on Audible now, because if I read a book, it takes away from knitting. But if I listen to Audible, I can knit and listen at the same time. So this one is all the colors that's on the cover of the book Fairy Tale. And then this one of these, both of these actually, are just fucking stunning. This one is Rose the Hat from Dr. Sleep, the Shining sequel. And I love that character, and I love these colors. And I mean, again, these are not my colors at all. Like, this is not, I don't wear purples very much, but this is too stunning for words. And then this one is Baby Can You Dig Your Man, the song that made the character famous in The Stand. I mean, this is luscious. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah. Yeah. So then, the last colorway of the year's worth of yarn. Because when I started this, I went, I'll get a year or I'll stop when I don't like something. Well, obviously I liked everything. And so the last one came and I opened the box and I literally took a breath and called Sarah immediately. Because it's The Soil of a Man's Heart is Stonier Lewis. It's based off of Pet Cemetery. And it is her colors. Look at this. Look at that little bit of green. This is the color of a graveyard, and it is just amazing. So then I was faced with a quandary because I loved all these colorways, and I'd done a year, and I don't need to keep going because, as we know, I have plenty of fucking yarn. But it's Stephen King, and I love me some Stephen King, and I love this yarn dyer, and what was I to do? So I consulted with Sarah, and I said, do I keep buying the colorways and maybe just like buy it in a different base? And she said, yes, you do, because otherwise you'll see it on Instagram and hate yourself. And she was right. So I ordered it in squishy sock base for next month. And I think what I'm going to do this year, instead of buying all one base, is I'm going to try a bunch of their different bases. Because, you know, you can always find a 1 or 2 skein project for something. But yeah, I just love it, and I don't want to stop. So that's a year's worth of yarn. So that's a little stash enhancement through the year. I got a lot more yarn than that, but we'll stop with those. So let's then on to knitting things of the knitting. One thing I've knit recently is while I was at Sarah's hat, her daughter, the teen, kept stealing the hat that I had made for her. I don't know if you, the friends of mine, will remember that a few years back I knit 40 of these because I had tubs of Malabrigo Rios, which is what this is knit out of, in the basement. And they knit up so interesting with that color pop of the slip stitches. I was like, I need to see what they all look like. So I knit a whole bunch, and a whole bunch of my friends got some. And I knit one specifically for Sarah because Sarah loves the prince, and the prince was the purple one, and I saw this one in, I think it was Stephen B, and I bought it specifically to knit her a hat, and then her 14-year-old kept stealing it. So I went on Ravelry, and I found somebody that had one of these on their stash for sale, and I found that one that was the purplest, and I bought it, and I knit Lily, and this is a Hoki Locatelli pattern designed to use Malabrigo Rios, called Field of Wildflowers, and I knit her own in the exact same size that I knit Sarah's, so it should fit her head the exact same way. And if it doesn't, she can take her mom's and Sarah can have this one. But then I have knit them both one. But my heterosexual life partner Sarah can have her own hat instead of her 14-year-old wearing it fucking everywhere. So I've knit that, and I knit my fourth and final wingspan. Okay, it's not my final wingspan, but the one that I had committed to make for other people. And I don't know if I got the others in podcast. I feel like I did. The one I knit for Alicia, the vampires. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to link below to my Ravelry pages for each of the ones I've knit in case you want to look at them. But I knit my last one for someone, and this is it. And it is the Wingspan by Kyle Vay pattern. And this is knit out of fiber optics yarn. And it is the size B. And it takes way more than fucking 800 yards. That is a lie. This one took way closer to 1,350 yards because this particular set of yarn was back when fiber optics were doing mini skeins, and I can show you what their mini skeins look like. they had a set like this. There's a little bit of a glare on it. Sorry about that. Of skeins that transitioned through colors. This one is called Honey to Fig. So honey to fig. Fig. Honey to fig. And it transitioned through the colors. And I started with 2 sets for this particular shawl. And this one was called Rose to Bitter Lime, is that green right there at the bottom. That was the name of the set. And I had 2. And I started it and got close to the end and was like, I don't have enough to finish this. I'm going to have to. So the way it's designed is you can modify how long you make the wings on bee. There is a repeat that builds up the feathers. And you can do, you're supposed to do 3 repeats to make the official size bee. You can do 2, and that's the truncated size bee. You could even do 1. I feel like if you just did 1 repeat and then put the feather tips on, you might be able to do it with like 950 yards, because each one of these is 450 yards. So with 2, I had 900. I think I might have been able to done an extra truncated one out of just 800 yards, but with 950, there was no way I was going to be able to do the truncated one with 900 yards. I was going to run out. So I went to the basement to look and find, because I have several other sets of this that includes a green. So I was going to go find a green to add into this. And while I was looking through, I found a 3rd set of mini skeins of this color, this particular colorway of yarn. And so I pulled it out, made cakes, ripped out. I was all the way down to, like I said, into the last feather. I ripped it all the way out and I started over again. And you can see that at the top with this. This was the extra colorway I found because it was not the same dye lot. So when I got down into here, this purple and this color here mixed together, this was going to show up down there, and I didn't want that. So I pulled that skein out, just one little mini skein out. Knit the whole thing, got to the end and realized I wasn't going to have enough of the green to do every single feather tip because there's 24 feather tips. So I took that last mini skein and I added a color pop on these last 2 on the inside, because what you do is you knit from the outside in this way. And I used that halfway and then full for this feather tip. And then you knit halfway across the center section, you bind off. And then you go out here and you knit these and come in. And I used it in the same spot. So I used every bit of at least 1,300 yards in it. Size B, the full size B. So I believe that the 800 yards they tell you to knit size B on the wingspan is a lie. And a lot of other Ravelry pages who have knit this also agree. But yeah, so that's the last one I have to knit for somebody else. And it turned out stunning as usual. They always are. I mean, it's a beautiful freaking pattern, no doubt. And it's not hard. It's tedious. You have to figure out how it's shaped as it's going in, because you build it up a certain way. And once you build it up a certain way, like the 3rd one, once you've knit like the 3rd one, you're like, oh yeah, this is where I'm at because I've done this side and I have to go. So it becomes very intuitive. But it does not become intuitive in the first one. No. If I could go back and reknit that first one, I would, to make it better for Sally. Not going to lie. But while I say that I'm not knitting another one of those for a person, I do want to knit one for the state fair. So I have 2 sets of this, which, as we know, will not even make a size B. So I went back to the dyer and I bought, so the way she sells these gradients now is in a full cake. Like you buy a cake that's dyed ombre, or you can buy 6 sets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if you were to compare these, you would see that in the mini sets, there are little mini skeins that are these terminal points of color throughout. And so when I get to those, I will use these to increase that section before going on to the change sections to knit another size B. And then this will be a state fair project. But that doesn't have to get started until after the new year for sure, because boy did I need a break. And then once I was done knitting that last feather span that I had to knit, feather span, I always entitle my project with a feather in the name, but the actual name of the pattern is wingspan. But so like I had Sally's feathers, and then I did vampire feathers, and then I did sunset feathers, and then this one I called parrot feathers. So I call them all feathers in my Ravelry page, but the name of the pattern is the wingspan. So I have knit a hat that has already been given to someone to take to its new owner. It's called a toolbox hat. By Adventure du Jour Designs. And I knit it in some of Cynthia's yarn that I inherited. And it is, they're called footlights, and it was mini skeins that came in a set that were meant to be knitted together. And I went, yeah, and pulled out colors. And I'm looking for fall. It's that second, I've knitted 2 of those hats now. I knit one in Tosh Merino Light, a single, and they were all very bright. And I thought, oh, I want very bright. Yeah, no, I didn't like the very bright. So that went to a new home. And then I knit these in very muted, because I'm looking for fall colors, but I added a blue, and the blue turned it into a rainbow. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I already have 2 hats I love, so instead of keeping one that I was like, I found somebody else to send it off to. One thing that I started in Indiana in the spring is a set of mitts that I have yet to put the thumbs on because they're fiddly. And I tried to do, it's supposed to be a afterthought thumb, and I can't get the stitches picked up properly. And so we'll see if I even ever get these finished. But these were to go, I made Lily a hat, and I intended for these to go with the hat. And the name of the pattern is Prickly by Melissa J. Goodall. And they were just little fingerless mitts with the thumb supposed to be going here. Cute little pattern. Haven't got the thumbs on. Been months. And they were one of the first things I picked up when I started knitting again, and I intended to put the thumb in. And, oh, kitten. Oh, we got a new kitten. She's giant now. She's not a little bitty kitten anymore. She's a giant cat, but she's still a baby in her brain. But I picked these up and intended to finish them and tried to pick up the stitches, and that did not go well. And so they're still sitting. One thing I finished yesterday, and I only started this 3 days before, but it's a baby sweater, is this. And it is some yarn that I had. It's acrylic yarn. It is Bernat Softy Baby Solids and Marls. One obviously is a marl and one is a solid. It's the Tweeny Junior pattern. It's a free pattern by Beta Jezik. And it is, I knit the size 1-2 because while the baby is only 9 months, him a big boy, and I would like for him to be able to wear this all winter and not for 3 minutes in the fall. And then when it gets really cold, he can't fit in it anymore. So I knit a bigger size. Maybe he'd get 2 years out of it this way. It's got short rows at the back to bring up the back of the neck. Obviously just regular raglan increases. What it does have, and what I learned on this project and what I love, is the tubular bind off. Well, it's the tubular cast on and the tubular bind off. And I use Suzanne Bryan. She is my go-to reference point for YouTube videos for knitting. A lot of other videos out there. A lot of other people like different people. The reason I like Suzanne is there's no production value. There's no intro. There's no music. There's no chitty 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 chat, which I realize I did right at the beginning of this video, but do as she does, not as I do. She just gets in and she shows you how to do it, and she shows you both continental and English, so it doesn't matter which way you knit. She will show you how to do it. She's great. I love her. And I followed this video, and this is slicker than grease snot. Like, I had never used it before, and this is so stretchy. It's got so much give. This is still a little damp, which is why that doesn't want to go back after I've pulled it out. But it's got a ton of give in it. Just amazing, and it looks great too. So yeah, I will never be using anything but tubular on sock ribbing and sweater ribbing ever again. Like hat ribbing, that's a different story. But these, but so this is super cute, and I'm really happy I finished it, and I can send it away as soon as it's finished drying. They're These are both going to Indiana, so I will go and mail them together to different places, of course, but I'll get them mailed. So that's the Tweety Junior. I finished that yesterday. Because what happened is after I finished that last wingspan, I wanted to knit anything but that, and I wanted to knit everything. And I've had things that I've wanted to knit for a really long time, so I just pulled everything out and started everything. Everything. So I started 2 pairs of socks. And 1 pair of socks became socks for someone else. Because I started on the yarn and I went, oh, these are not for me. These are for Angie. So these are the zigzagular socks. And that's the pattern that they're named after. By Susie White. And the yarn is by Yarnarchy. This is Yarnarchy Queen. And the color was La Cineratola. Can't pronounce it. Don't know. This is really old yarn. I've had this a long time. This was one of the first skeins of hand-dyed yarn from Etsy I ever bought. So I have no idea if this dyer is still in business, if they're still dyeing this colorway. But this is a very bright color. And then I pulled out some leftovers that I had in stash from another one of my very first hand-dyed skeins to try doing contrasting heels, and then I'll do toes. And this one is a 72 stitch pattern because Angie's got bigger peats than me. So this is, I've told her I will knit this first one. I will let her try it on. And if it, like I tried to make this super stretchy. Next time I'll use a tubular and that'll be fine, won't it? But this was before I did tubular. This one got cast on before, but I think it's got enough stretch in there. I think it's not too tight. But, so this is the first sock, and I am in the gusset decreases. So I cast on that pair of socks and discovered it was going to be for Angie after I got it cast on. Like, as I was casting it on, I'm like, this one should not be for me. Like, I was putting a number of stitches on it. I'm like, no, this needs to be bigger. It needs to be for Angie. So, cast those on for Angie, and it's in a little pumpkin bag. I have no idea who I bought this from, but it's super cute. Pumpkins. Because we got the kitten. And because she's trouble, which is what I call her, even though that's not her name. Her name is Dustbuster. Go along with Swiffer. I can't keep anything in the bags that I can't use the bags that I have collected for knitting project bags, which were just the little Joann's little handles, little plastic totes, cute things. Yeah, she would just go right in those and pull yarn out and eat it. So now I have to have all yarn bags that close. So I have started a new collection of knitting bags, and mainly they're fat squirrel bags because I love her bags. But this is one I bought in Indiana when I was down visiting Sarah back in the spring. It's super cute. It's a pull. And this is a project I started again back in the spring, and it was yarn that I bought while I was, like, I know I did a video talking about this yarn when I was at Sarah's. It's called Emma's Yarn, and it's practically perfect socked. And this one's called Foxy Lady, and it's 80/20 merino nylon. And I started the plumeria. And then I started gardening, and now it is, well, it's hot garbage, Kurt. Like, look at this. The needles keep getting caught on everything, and I am making a who knows what I've done here. Anyway, it's a really cute little tank that increases here and creates with the use of these, let's show the right side. This detail of lace detail creates little pleats so that it swings out, and it's really cute. And I want it for next year, but I'm going to wait till it's closer to spring to finish it, because currently we're going into the winter, and I just want to knit warm things because I live in Minnesota. It's what you do. So that's still on the hooks, but that's sitting. Totoro. I got this at a Japanese Lantern Festival here in Minnesota. Well, before the pandemic, so 3 years ago now. And this project has been sitting in my queue since I started knitting in like 2013, 2014, something like that. But it was German short rows, and I felt intimidated. Well, now we know German short rows are my friends, so I was like, I'm knitting this sucker now. And I went stash diving for the fill yarn, which is 100% cashmere from Mongolia Yarns out of Cynthia's stash. And it's the Dream Bird by Nadita Swings. It's knit, well, my version is knit to what the pattern says, which is lace. And I had bought this from Unique Sheep. It is their lace. Their Celine is the name of the base, and it's the colorway Hot and Spicy. And this bottom one is wrong. This first one I did wrong. This second one is correct. See how it's supposed to tip up like that? That's the way the feather's supposed to go. So that second feather is completely right. And the first one I was like reading the pattern, figuring out how to read the pattern, and made it wrong. But it doesn't look bad, so I'm just going to leave it. Because that's the first one, and it'll be wrapped up under stuff up here anyway, so I don't care. Like lots of times I care and I have to rip back and do it. But this one, it doesn't look bad. So I, and the little bit of wibble there, that'll, as we say, that shit'll block right out. And that'll be flat. And that one will go down instead of going up the way the others do. And it will be fine. So I cast this on, and I've only gotten 2 feathers done. I haven't put a lot of work in it, but it's started now, which is a lot more than I could say for it before. Like I got the yarn out, I got the yarn caked. It's in a project bag, and it has begun. So, and like literally, that's been sitting. I bought that pattern right at the beginning, and that has been sitting in my library and in my queue for almost a decade now. 2023 is next year. So almost a decade. And then another thing I had yarn sitting for was the Celadon Shawl by Amba O'Brien. And I've wanted to knit this thing forever as well. It's been in there almost as long. And but I had yarn in Cynthia's stash that was a set of Miss Babs Yummy 2-ply gradients, 6, and it's called Wild Bird's Red. And it's not a colorway they make anymore, but it's 3 colors of gray, a muted red, a bright red, and black. Those aren't my colors. Those are Sarah's colors. So then I bought a white Miss Babs, just they're plain naked, and I'm knitting the Celadon for Sarah. And I have done all of the increases, and it's garter stitch, and so I was able to pick this up and knit on this a lot while watching TV, and I got to the colors last night. I'm actually in the second gray, but the grays are really pretty close. So where that first marker is where I transitioned out of the first darker gray. No, that's supposed to be the lighter gray. I'm doing it in order that they sold the gradient. I took pictures of the colors names so I know which order to go in. So I'm doing it in order. That's all I know. So that's the first gray that I finished. You do 7 repeats of the decrease, which is 4 rows across, back. You decrease 1 stitch in those 4 rows. And then you do that 7 times, and then you transition to the next color. So I am in the second color. And like I said, it's very, like I can do this. So it's gotten more love than a lot of things because being garter stitch, I don't have to look at a pattern. I just bleep, 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 bleep. So I'm working on that for Sarah. Oh, I forgot to show you. This is one of my new Fat Squirrel bags. It's not my colors, like not really, but it's got stabbing. There's some stabbing. A key, but I really got it for the stabbing because we know I love to stab. This is another Fat Squirrel bag. This one is my oldest one. I got this one last year. And the thing is, I love her bags. Like, I love the design. It's got a really nice zipper. She just lines it with a nice plain heavy-duty cotton on the inside. It's a great, and she adds a little handle so you can carry it around. Makes unzipping easy. But she only makes my colors this time of year. So I have to buy them this time of year. So I actually have 2 more coming. So a while ago, I bought yarn for a kit from Utopia. And it was called the Persimmon Shawl. And I bought the yarn just because it was pretty and I thought I'd make something for Wendy. But then Wendy's really hard to knit for. She's just hard to knit for. So, and this is not going to be it. And I haven't found anything else to use the yarn with. So I just cast on the shawl. The shawl pattern actually came with it. It's called the Persimmon Shawl. Came with it. It's going to be a triangular shawl. These are the colors. One is applied, one is a single for lace, and then this is as far as I got. But it's cast on and it's not sitting on my shelf anymore, so that's the point. And I can knit on it when I want. So that's cast on. That's the Persimmon Shawl. And this is my favorite bag. I have no idea what's in these bags till I open them. I'm not going to lie. Oh, yes, this is my sock. This is the stock I started for me. So for my own Pete's, I prefer Kay Jones sock patterns. Like, I've tried others. This one's called Clementine. It's got a little star pattern that's formed by knitting 3 stitches together. No, purling 3 stitches together and purling into those 3 stitches 3 times. So you purl through the front, you purl through the back, you purl through the front. Or is it knit? I don't know. You form them by using 3 stitches though. And I like them. And this yarn is just my colors. The yarn is Oh My Gourd, the colorway by Stitch Together Smooth Sock. And this was their colorway for last fall. Like, I bought a lot of Halloween / fall colors last fall, intending to knit things this year. And so I cast one on. There you go. I also bought a lot of fall yarn this year. Because fall is my colors. So they dye the yarn I want in the fall. So I've been buying it then. This one is a kit that has been sitting around in my stash. I bought all of the yarn from Sun Valley Fibers. And it's their Sun Valley MCN figuring. So merino cashmere, nylon. And I've had this for about this one's probably like 7 years. And it's the On the Spice Market by Melanie Berg. And it's a very lovely muted color shawl that a lot of people have knitted muted. And I want something bright. And so I bought bright colors. But it's a rainbow. And while I am certainly an ally of our rainbow community and all the different rainbow flags, well, all the different flags, not all of them are rainbows, Mary, duh. I myself am not a member, and I would feel a little bad wearing this anywhere. I'm not going to lie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit it, and I'm going to offer it up to my friends list to see who would like that you have it, and hopefully it will get worn to pride festivals at some point and people will enjoy it. But I haven't worked on it much because I still need to skein to cake up all of these mini skeins. And I don't want to, so I haven't. So that got a lot of love at first. When the first I did some of the first mini skeins and I knit all that, and now I need more mini skeins, and I'm like, I can sit for a while. I think this is the last one I have going. Oh, this fucker. So I've had 2 skeins of yarn in my stash for a while. And again, okay, so I buy a lot of blues intending to make Wendy something, but as I reiterated, Wendy's really hard to knit for. Now, I have other friends that would be easier to knit for, but they knit. Well, okay. I knit for Sarah. I could knit for Vicky. But Vicky's also particular. So I haven't knit for Vicky. I should. I did knit her hat. She got one of the hats. So I did do that. Okay. And these are favor hats. So I did something. But so I bought these 2 skeins of yarn from a vendor. And this was when I went to Stitches in Chicago a few years back. 5, 6, I don't know, years ago. And I bought 2 skeins of it's their worsted weight. I think it's their Epona is the name of it. Hundred Ravens Epona is the name of the yarn. And it's in Wild Nautilus and Wild Seashore. And I don't know which one's which. But they're beautiful. So I decided I'm just going to use them up. Because, like, I don't know what to do with them. So I'm going to find something to do with them and knit it up. And then find a new home for it. And so I decided to knit a cowl. And I wanted to do mosaics, though. Because I wanted these to play off of each other. And so I picked Find Your Way Cowl by Mandy Coffin. Y'all. I was at the last ribbing. I was at the ribbing at the end. And all I needed to do was knit the ribbing and bind off. And I came to the end and I'm like, switch to the smaller needle. And I'm like, oh, I didn't switch to a larger needle to knit the mosaic. And I was thinking, because the bottom ribbing kept, like, it didn't roll. It just flipped up. Like the entire thing would flip up onto the cowl. And I'm like, that's why that's happening. I did this. So I frogged it all out. All of it, the whole thing. Because I didn't like the ribbing. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to redo this, I'm going to redo it all. So I frogged it all out. And then discovered what I had done is, because I always knit on my interchangeables, I had changed the size of this needle. No, I had changed the size of my right needle and left the left needle, which I knit off of, the smaller size, that it would be easier to pick up the stitches. I could have just done the ribbing and been done with it. No. So I re-knit the ribbing, and I tried to knit it longer so that I could fold up and have it be squishy. No, that didn't work out either. So try 3. I have done ribbing, and it is now twice as long as they told me to do it, actually. And I switched the color of the ribbing to the darker color. And I did broken rib instead of ribbing. We'll see how that works out. This will probably be my while I work project today. We'll see. Because that one sort of wanted to time out. Like I had put a lot of time in it. It was because it's worsted, so it was knitting up pretty quickly. So I'd put a lot of time into it. And yeah, after time 3, I was like, okay, this needs to go into timeout for a while. Oh. I am at a standstill. This one is another. I should just finish it, but it's the part I hate. So I knit a baby hat for my friend Jerry's grandbaby Jax. No hats, no ear flaps, ties. Then I knit 11 little dinosaur spines. And now I need to sew the dinosaur That's all I've got to do. It's finished. All the ends are woven in. I've made the ties. I just need to sew on the dinosaur spines. And like, it's cool enough now. It's 27 this morning here in Minneapolis. He could be wearing this little hat on his little bean. But I really don't want to. So let's see. Is that all? Yeah, that's everything I've currently got on the needles. I cast on a second walk in the dawn cardigan because I knit the first one and I got fatter. And so it doesn't really fit the way I want it to fit. So I cast on a second one. But then Vicky was over yesterday for my birthday and we did a consult. And the problem is that up here, I am a small person. I'm only 5'2" and I'm not that big. But then all the fat comes in down here. But if I knit a pattern for what this size is, it's way too big for up here. Way too big. Because my boobs aren't that big, but I got back fat. So it makes this a bigger number. So, to bring this up, instead of having it fall off my shoulders, to be up high enough to sit on my shoulders where I want it to sit, I'm going to start with a smaller number of stitches between my back. The same number for the sleeves, the raglan, however many they say to put through there. We're going to start there the same, but take some out of the back and then do the increases. And then when I get down to here, we'll add increases in the back for the mosaic to have enough stitches across there to do the mosaic pattern and to go around my butt. So that's the game plan. So I frogged out. I only had this much knit. I mean, it's quite a few stitches because I'm fat, as we've mentioned. But it was only this. So I'll frog that out and I'm going to restart that and knit myself a second cardigan of that. I also want to knit a pullover sweater. And I have yarn for it from the 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I think. I tried to do a test knit for someone, and it was bad. Like, her numbers were wrong, and so I pushed through to do as much as I could, but then I never finished the sweater because it was just the numbers were wrong, and I would have had to, like, the fudging I would have had to do to finish it from there on down, and then to do the sleeves because there was a pattern that needed to be repeated in the sleeves, and the numbers were going to be off there, and I'm just like, no. So I just frogged it all out. So I have the yarn now. I did enough of the test knit to give her the feedback she needed to make the adjustments for the pattern, but yeah, she's not good on grading up. Like, she's a newer designer, and hopefully as she keeps doing things, but she's obviously designing patterns to fit herself and then trying to figure out how to size them up, and she's not great at dealing with plus size. I mean, she's trying, so points. Like, she's trying, but it's not the same, and she's doesn't know how to do it, so it wasn't great. So I won't be knitting any more of her patterns because it's frustrating and I feel fat. I feel extra fat and lumpy and like I'm an imposition when I do that, and I'm not how I want to feel about myself, so not doing that. I have a lot more yarn that I've picked up over the year, and I will show you some of that later. But this is going to be it for today. I made it 48 minutes. Got to talk about all my knitting, which is really what I want to do because I know not just basically my friends are watching, but I wanted to, like, I'm excited about knitting again, so I wanted to jaw at you about it. So y'all have a good day. I have to start work. Work actually started 4 minutes ago, but it's a Monday morning, and in my job, everybody rolls in slow on Monday. So if I were at work right now, I would be sitting there knitting anyway. So I'll log in here in about 25 minutes. I'll log in at 9 instead of 8:30 and see if anybody's actually gotten into work and started working yet. I hope you all have a lovely day, and everyone go see Black Panther this week. Okay? Okay. Bye.